Welcome to another video here on the Giant Take Podcast YouTube channel. Hope everyone is doing well. New York Giants fans, NFL fans, Dallas Cowboy fans, whoever's watching this video, we welcome you in. Although Cowboys fans, we don't respect you. I'm sorry. If you're a good Dallas Cowboys fan, maybe I'll allow it.
Well, there's not many, but
we'll
still welcome you.
You guys failed in the playoffs anyway, so it's all good. So, welcome in to another video here. We're going to be talking about the New York Giants head coaching candidate, Dan Quinn, in this one, the current Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator. We're going to go into his whole resume, where he's been, what he's done, and then at the end, give our thoughts on Mr. Quinn and if he should be the defensive coordinator, the New York Giants head coach or not. Let me bring in my co-host, Alex, who is here with me, who's already spoken. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's interesting with these coaching searches because the search is moving around quick. It seems like maybe by the end of the week we might have our answer here, but it's kind of cool going through this, going through the candidates we had, and we're gonna have all the candidates here, which is cool. Hopefully we'll have all the videos done before they actually announce it, because that'll be good. Because some of it looks like it's moving a bit quickly, especially with Dabble getting his second interview, or Dable, however you want to say it. But Dan Quinn's an interesting one, so I'm excited to talk about him. A lot of Giants fans are very much against Dan Quinn. I get it with the offensive mind. You know, I'll save some of my thoughts for the end, but I think Dan Quinn certainly is very qualified. That's what I will say.
And I think it's interesting because we brought in Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals. If you haven't already, go check out that video. We're recording this Monday night, so I can say this came out today. But whenever you're watching this, probably on Tuesday, if not later, then go check that out, that Lou Anarumo overview of him. That was a really good one. So two defensive coordinators that the Giants interviewed that, like, There's nothing really too crazy that stands out with them. They just have had a lot of experience in the NFL, so they're qualified. There's just nothing that, like, you know, I really want this guy.
Quinn has Super Bowl experience, head coaching experience. That sets him apart from
Anarumo.
Right. That was never going to be. Let's hope he doesn't get the job, because otherwise I will have a nightmare pronouncing his name.
I had to make sure to look up some clips and make sure I was getting it right the first time. Which, by the way, we have to figure out Dable or Dabble, because we can't keep on doing this any longer. After this video,
fun though, the Dabble.
I'm gonna have to look this up after the fact. Let's go into about to say Dable a little bit. No, we already did a Brian Dable. You can go check that on the YouTube channel too. We already did a Brian Dable New York Giants head coach candidate overview, so you can check that out too. Okay, enough plugging. He grew up in Morristown, New Jersey. Another person that the Giants are considering that is from this area. We have Dan Quinn, who's from this area, Brian Flores, and I think, was it Anarumo? I think it might have been.
Anarumo was a defensive back coach for the Giants in 2018.
Yes, but there was someone who also grew up, I'm saying, in like the New Jersey.
Flores was in Brooklyn.
That's what I said. Flores.
Dable
Quinn
was Northern New York. I don't know where exactly.
I don't think Dable's from New York.
I thought he was.
All right, we're not going to do this right now. So he grew up in Morristown, New Jersey. Dan Quinn. I have some stats from the Cowboys 2021 regular season on the defensive side of things that I want to kind of go through, and then I have his whole, list too of where he's been. So the Cowboys in 2021, their regular season stats that kind of stood out to me from the defensive side of things. They were third in defensive completion percentage. That's passing completion percentage. So they were the third best, basically led teams to the third lowest. I had to explain a little bit, Alex, okay? Second in combo tackles and led the league in interceptions. And they were also first in interception touchdowns. One kind of leads to the other. And as we know, Trayvon Diggs led the league with 11 interceptions this season. Alex, I don't know. You told me you had a few things written down. I don't know if that has to do with like stats wise or anything. Do you want to share that out before I go to list his full? Yeah. Okay.
So Dallas in 2021 here defensively, I'm looking over also because I'm reading. Dallas allowed 21.1 points a game, the NFL's 7th lowest figure. They were second in third down defense, allowing conversions on just 34.1% of opportunities. And they had a league high totals, like you mentioned before, 34 takeaways, 26 interceptions, with those 11 by Trayvon Diggs as well taken into account. So they were very much impressive this year, and the rookie Micah Parsons as well was very good. So you're looking at all what he was able to do with this defense that really on paper doesn't have a lot of great players, but kind of like what Pat Graham did a year or so ago, he kind of put together a solid unit, and that's something that Quinn did in his time in Atlanta as well.
Yeah, so hopefully I don't lag here because I have another tab open with everything. But I hopefully should be okay when going through this list. And then Alex, I guess you can somewhat react to it. So he started out at William and Mary as their defensive line coach. Okay, then he went to VMI in 1995. He was their defensive line coach. Went on to coach Hofstra from 96 to 99. Then was the Hofstra defensive coordinator and defensive line coach in 2000. San Francisco 49ers 2001-2002 defensive quality control coach. He was then the 49ers defensive line coach from 2003 to 2004. The Miami Dolphins 2005-2006 defensive line coach there. Went to the New York Jets as their defensive line coach from 2007 to 2008. Went on to be the assistant head coach and defensive line coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Went to Florida to get a bigger role as the defensive coordinator and D-line coach from 2011 to 2012. Back to Seattle as their defensive coordinator from 13 to 14. The head coach of the Falcons, as we know, choked in the Super Bowl from 2015 to 2020. He was their head coach, got fired, then went to the Dallas Cowboys in 2021, which is where he is right now as a defensive coordinator. His head coaching regular season record is 43-42. Postseason record 3-2. He's a Super Bowl champion, and he won the salute.
Not a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl choker, but yes.
He's a Super Bowl champion.
Oh, I thought you meant as a head coach.
Oh, no, just he is.
Yeah, he with the Seahawks, right? Yeah.
Yes, one of his accolades was that and he also...
As a head coach, not so much, though.
No, we know that. And then he won the Salute to Service Award, which is presented that honors its best players from the 2016 season. So I don't know how that... that was from the NFL Honors Salute to Service Award. I assume that has to do with something about the military. Yeah, so it's the NFL's year-round committee to recognize and honor the military community. So he won that as well. Alex, any thoughts on that?
He's certainly experienced, I think, with his... I know the Super Bowl really taints his reputation with the Falcons, but I think he was a solid coach for them. Getting that team to the Super Bowl. And really with Tom Brady, anything's possible. We saw that great Rams team that we consider very well coached almost get, comebacked. That's not the right word, but almost lose their 27-3 lead to Tom Brady. Not because that team is poorly coached, just Tom Brady. They did make a few mistakes evidently, but I don't think that it's a little bit overrated. I don't think it was a complete disaster, but it was, but it wasn't as bad as people were thinking or think about it.
Right.
I think Quinn's very qualified. I think he's got some great accolades to his name, and I think out of the defensive coordinators, he's probably the top of my list when it comes to these defensive guys. Behind Flores.
I still would have to disagree. I'm going to go... I mentioned it in my Lou Anarumo video, that when it comes to defensive coordinators, Patrick Graham is on top of my list. I've seen what he's done with this New York Giants defense, and honestly, call me crazy, I'd rather have Patrick Graham as my New York Giants head coach than Dan Quinn. I know Dan Quinn has had more time as a head coach and has had more time as a defensive line coach, as we could tell from his reputation. He's had many years as a defensive line coach or a defensive coordinator. The thing is, though, Patrick Graham is used to this team, right? He knows it well. He's been here for the past few years. He knows his guys on defense. Really hasn't had that much change on defense. if you really think about it, it's been a lot of young guys improving. So he's had really the same guys, the same core since last season, besides like the backups. Like those maybe have changed around, but the same group of guys the past 2 years. So he knows his defense well. And I'm sure he's made relationships on the offense too. I mean, to be a coach around this team, you have to at least know some guys on the offensive side of things. So I would say to choose any of the defensive coordinators that we would go through, right, to be the head coach right now, Patrick Graham, not Brian Flores, who, by the way, hasn't had an interview yet. And from, well, you know, again, what I've heard, Flores was a little bit too demanding. Then Quinn, who has actually had an interview, and same thing with Anarumo. Those two guys, they don't interest me. I mean, I don't want a Cowboys defensive coordinator anyway to become the head coach, nor I want Dan Quinn becoming our head coach. We've seen what he's done as a head coach. It's not been so successful as you've been clowning him for so far in this video, Alex. So my thoughts on Dan Quinn, I think he's a very qualified guy. He has a long reputation of experience in the NFL, in college, as a defensive coordinator, as a defensive line coach. Do not want him as the head coach of the New York Giants. Your thoughts?
I like him, actually. I know it's a really weird thing to say. I know most Giants fans are against him, but I think if we don't get Dable, he's probably my number 2 guy. Maybe him and Flores are kind of even. I just think people are underrating that he got this Falcons team. They were constantly competitive for a good 5 years, right? Besides the last season, they were pretty much always in the playoffs. They were always competitive. They were never out of it in December or November or October, whatever it is with the Giants, usually October. I think he's a bit underrated in terms of that. And if we have to have a defensive guy, I think Quinn's not a terrible option. He's not who I would choose. But then again, what I will say before we end off the video, we have to really trust Shane, right? He has to make the decision. We may not get who we want. You know, if it's Quinn, I'm not going to freak out. If it's Flores, Josh and I are not going to, I don't know, maybe Josh will freak out, but I don't think he is. I don't think we're going to freak out no matter who he really hires, because it's all about setting the foundation. Maybe an offensive-minded coach isn't the right path for us long-term. Who knows, right? So I think we have to be patient with this process and hope that Shane chooses the right guy.
Now, I wanted to double check what you were saying to make sure you weren't saying the wrong thing. We believe that I believe Dan Quinn was the coach of the Falcons from 2015 to 2020. And you were saying how, they were still competitive into December. I was like, let me double check that and make sure.
Mostly for the first few years of his. Yeah, sorry.
Don't give yourself an excuse. You were right. I'm trying to help you here. You know, starting in 2015, they were 8-8, came second in the South. And then obviously 2016, 11-5. And they lost in the Super Bowl. 2017, they were 10-6, lost in the divisional playoff. 2018, they were 7-9. 2019, they were 7-9. That was the 2020, like you said, the 4-12 record. So very good, Alex. I was hoping
they were not out of it in October. Let's just say that.
And you said December. I would say they had a 7-9 record finishing with that. They had to be still competitive in December.
Maybe even January, right? Maybe you never know.
So again, there's Dan Quinn. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts on the defensive coordinator is. Let us know if you think he should be the head coach of the New York Giants or if you think he shouldn't, and explain why, besides just saying yes or no. Or just say yes or no. I don't care. Subscribe to the...
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't hold you to what a standard. Subscribe to the Giants Take Podcast YouTube channel. Drop a like. New episode hopefully coming sometime this week. We're excited for it. Will we have a head coach by then? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But again, look forward to these videos coming soon. I don't know. I don't think we'll do a Brian Dable part 2, but I know tomorrow he's going to have an in-person interview, his second interview with the New York Giants. So big news. You know,
big favorite for sure.
Big favorite. And even during the GM search, when Joe Schoen was the favorite candidate, they already came out that if Schoen is hired by the Giants, Dable would be his number 1 option. And that looks like it's coming to fruition, I would say is the right thing to say there. So we'll have to wait and see. But the Dable-Schoen connection looks to be very much happening.
The Schoen train's rolling. The Schoen Dable dabble.
So let's see what happens after the interview tomorrow. But for right now, again, thank you so much.